What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo. And I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo. And
Canadian.
I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
Who are you, Blues fan? We're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
Presented by Scott Credit Union, your St. Louis Blues.
Well, hello, sorry about that. I tested everything and tested everything and tested everything, and it still screwed up on me. Hey, this is Guy, the White Blues fan, and this is your BlueNote Fan Report coming to you live from Vitale's Hideaway in Warden, Illinois. This place is neat. Unfortunately, I can't show you the bar. And the reason I can't is because they're going to be on bar rescue. And I want to talk about that. I'm going to bring up the owner of this incredible establishment, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about it. And then we will we'll get back and we'll see. So hold on a second. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Nick, the owner of Vitale's Hideaway. Come on up, Nick. Watch that cable there, my friend. There we go. Have a seat. Here's the mic. If you want to put the headset you on, but you don't have to.
I'll do that.
All right.
Oh, it's exciting to be
there.
On
We go.
TV.
Oh man, this is finally. The old saying, Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. I didn't plan on doing shows. I ran into you, and we'll talk about that in a second. We tried to do this show on Wednesday, and all kinds of technical problems. I got most of them fixed, and then you heard me test this thing consistently.
Yeah.
The sound stopped on me. I had to unplug and replug, and that's why it jumped on me. So I apologize about that. But first of all, Nick, let me say thank you for offering Vitale's Hideaway in Warden, Illinois, about 30 or so miles north of downtown St. Louis. Is that correct?
That is.
Right. And you and me, we ran into each other at the Blues and Brews event. And this is a good little story. I'm going to let you tell it.
So Anheuser-Busch has the Brews and Blues once a year.
Yep.
And all the blues vans come out. And as you're walking in, Anheuser-Busch is giving out free Bud Lights.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of hard to toast off that cap. And a guy comes to me and says, hey, I'm a retired Navy veteran, and my hands don't work too well. Would you mind twisting off my beer cap? I said, absolutely. So I did that, and he's like, do you know who I am? I said, no, I have no clue. He goes, I'm the White Blues fan. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? I have heard of you. And so we talked inside and looked to put something together up here at the bar. And, if you haven't been up here, you can't really tell the atmosphere right now because Bar Rescue is on, and it's not going to, our first airing is going to be sometimes after the football season because they didn't want to compete with the NFL ratings. But so we'll be posting pictures and everything of the newly remodeled Vitale's now.
Yep.
It used to be Slotsy's and is now Vitale's Hideaway Prohibition Bar and Grill. So a great story behind that.
Yeah, great destination. Here's the other thing. Nick came up. So after he'd opened my beer and I was standing there, Nick came up to me, and Nick looks like Noel Buckingham from Buckingham. I showed you the picture, right? From Buckingham Pest Control, and we're good friends. And I thought he was Noel for a second. He said, "No, I'm the guy that opened your beer for you." So, hey, we got a question for you, Nick. Richard Henry Doolittle says, Nick, is John Taffer really that mean, or is it for the show?
It is just as you see on the show.
Right.
So when you watch it sometime after football season's over, you're going to see a similar lineup. And yeah, we were grilled. And yes, we failed horribly on the stress test, but it was a really cool experience, very emotional experience, and very disruptive. But we're still working out some kinks, and just love the new atmosphere that John Taffer has created up here, and you guys got to come check it out.
Yeah, you do. And I do want to say this. I got to thank you. You guys have been so convenient and so understanding of everything that's going on with me and doing the show. Now, tomorrow we've talked about possibly doing a game time show. It's still tentative. We'll see how tonight goes, because it's kind of a quick drive for me. But if tonight goes well, I will be here around 2 to do a 3 o'clock show during the game. I think I can see the TV well enough that we can do it. So fingers crossed.
Right on.
Well, thank you. We're going to get on with the show now. I just wanted to make sure you got a chance to tell everybody and talk about your thing here. And this is on your page also. You've given me admin to your page, so I can post on your page. And I forgot one more thing. So for the show this year, I'm just going to do Tuesdays, and every Tuesday is going to be presented by Vitale's Hideaway. And I got to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Then I'll be doing the TikToks more regularly, and those are presented by Vitale's. So you'll see Vitale's little thing. And once they're on Bar Hideaway, I'm going to get a picture inside the bar and then put that on there instead of just the Vitale Hideaway side.
Yeah. One of the things too is we just signed up for this bar Bleeds Blue.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to see that we are now going to be one of the bars that bleeds blue. So
yeah, they'll show the games
up and check out the atmosphere and have a great food and watch the Blues game.
Yeah, they'll be showing the games here, and I can't wait. So again, Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you, and maybe if you're still around towards the end of the show, we'll bring you back on.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Nick.
guys.
Have a good one, sir. That was Nick from the owner of Vitale's Hideaway. Now it's time to get on with the show. We have some guest co-hosts today. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here, but they are on the virtual with me. I have the man, the goalie, Lance Scott. How you doing, Lance?
Not too bad. How are you doing, Guy? How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. Hey, Nick, it's Nick from Windy City Hockey. So real quick, can you guys hear when they're speaking? Can you hear them okay out there? Nick.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Are you hearing it on that speaker there? They're a little low. Okay, we'll kind of turn that up a little bit. I'll give them a little more volume on my end. We're just working on some things here. Is that better there, Pat?
All right, let's see that.
There we go. Looks like. Yep. Okay, that sounds better. Okay, so let's get started. The NHL season officially starts tomorrow night. I mean, unofficially, it started 2 days ago with the Global Series between, and I'm going to get these teams wrong, Buffalo and
New Jersey.
New Jersey, right? I think New Jersey won both games. Is that correct?
They did.
Yep.
Right. So New Jersey went 2-0. Let me kind of turn. I'm working volumes here, trying to catch things. Okay, sorry. So, the Blues will actually be game number 3 on the schedule, taking on the Seattle Kraken at 3:30 in the afternoon. That's a joke, right?
Is there some sort of holiday in Seattle that nobody knows about?
I don't know, man.
I don't know what's going on.
Andrea Weiser is going to be at the game. She's got tickets like right behind the Blues bench. So she said she'll have her pom-poms on and she'll be out there. Let's talk real quick about the Blues this year. Nick, I already know what you think of the Blues, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Okay.
But let's go. I want to talk about what I call the 5 areas of hockey, right? And for me, the 5 areas of hockey are offense, defense, penalty kill, power play, and goaltending. Right? Those are the 5 major areas of hockey. Would you agree with that, Nick, or disagree with that? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Lance, you still with us?
Yeah, I had to step off for a minute. I don't think everybody wants to watch me taking drinks of my water. So,
oh, no problem. Yeah, well, I'm going to be drinking my Coke here. I'm under lights. Nick was here the other night. He knows the lights can be a little warm here. Would you agree with that? Kind of, those are the 5 major areas of hockey, Lance.
Yeah, and I think, if you want to throw a 6 in there, and it's got to do with everything that's on your list is coaching. But it's got everything. Because the power play, the defense, the goaltending, the offense, it's all got to do with coaching and how the players accept it. But I would agree that your 5, the way you have them, is pretty accurate.
Okay, so I list them in an area of concern. All right, well, what from the thing I'm most concerned about with the Blues, the thing I'm least concerned about. Now, I want to preface that a little bit or asterisk it and say, just because the level there are those 5 of the level of concern in ranking, but my level of concern with each one to 10 is different, highly different, right? So I'm going to start with what's number 1, my most concern with the Blues, and we'll do it. And Nick, I know you're not a Blues fan, but I think you can chime in with this a little bit if you want to. Are you good with that, bud?
Yeah, I can chime in.
Okay. So my number 1 concern with this team this year is offense. And my level of concern with the offense on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 lowest, 10 highest, is probably a 9.5, right? From what I've seen in the preseason, for the most part, they're not connected. And the neutral zone play, which I've talked about this more and more than you can ever think about. It really feels like the Blues start their zone entry at the red line and not at their blue line where it should start. And that bottles them up a little bit. And that's kind of what I feel about it. What do you say?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir. What's your number 1 area for the Blues?
It's definitely offense. I know that you and I have talked about this for the last couple of years. Everybody's talking about the defense, and you and I have both agreed that we don't think the defense is their top problem, and I still don't. Even though Krug's hurt, I still don't think defense is their top problem. I have much more concern with this team scoring. A lot of times this team, when they have problems scoring, they just dump and chase. And this team has got some good young players with speed, but overall this team speed is not to where you can do that dump and chase and be that aggressive yet. Because a lot of these younger guys just, they've only been in the league a few years. And, the guys like Kyrou who are getting better defensively, and yeah, he can score, and Thomas can score, and Thomas is better defensively than he was a couple of years ago. But my huge concern is scoring. I think this team is going to have a hard time scoring over 3 goals a game. And I think it's going to be more like 2.7 or 2.6 goals a game.
Yeah. And if it's that, we're Nick's prediction would probably come true. What do you say, Nick? If you were asked, as your hockey knowledge, where would you put the number 1 area of concern with the Blues?
The thing I would say is I'm in agreement. It's your guys' offense. But the thing with what I've noticed is the big issue when you're in the offensive zone for an attack. They get stuck to the boards, and it's not you aren't scoring goals playing a perimeter game anymore. You have to get to the front of the net to actually produce.
Yep. And how many times, Nick, did we see the Blues? I know you didn't watch them much last year, but how many times, and Guy and I talked about it, enter the zone against the boards. That's just a recipe for disaster. You're not going to do very well entering the zone all the time from the boards. You're going to get that defenseman's going to know, I just take him out and push him up against the boards. I fully agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I noticed it when the Hawks were in St. Louis that like the first 2.5 periods of play, the Hawks, who pretty much were playing a lot of Rockford Ice Hogs
Yep, they
that
were.
game,
Yep.
were really keeping St. Louis to the boards, and St. Louis had more NHL talent on the ice, and it looked like they're going to have that same issue they had last year. I've noticed with them.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. So let's go to area number 2. Now, for me, areas 1 through 4, and 4 being low, are still very high levels of concern, and that's what. So number 2, my number 2 level of concern with the Blues is penalty kill, and I've switch flopped it. It was power play, now it's penalty kill. I think that when it comes to the penalty kill, they play a very good collapsing triangle or diamond, but they're not trying to get that puck out, or they're not trying to control that puck. When the puck gets on the stick, instead of controlling it to eat clock away, they're just throwing it down and trying to do a change instead of being aggressive on the power play or on the penalty kill. And when you're not aggressive on the penalty kill, I actually think it hurts you more than it helps you. A lot of the conventional wisdom is you got to be passive or not aggressive on the penalty kill because you're gonna give up a goal. No, I think when you're not aggressive, that puck stays in your zone longer. You're going to give up more goals than being aggressive and pushing out or holding the puck. And my level on a 1 to 10 scale is probably about an 8.5. Right? What do you think? What's your number 2 area? Or if you want to just talk about my number 2, that's fine too.
Well, I honestly I could see where you're coming from when it comes to the penalty kill, because if you don't have a good PK, you aren't going to do much for success, because I saw this with the Hawks the last few years. They've had last year they weren't that bad on the PK, but they still had a bottom 10 PK. But if you don't succeed when it comes to your PK, it's going to hurt St. Louis a lot. And I don't think St. Louis acquired enough players to actually really be contributors on that penalty kill in the offseason. Broberg maybe, but that's about it. I really don't see where they went when looking into special teams type attack, because some of the players they acquired really aren't special teams type.
We'll talk a little more about that. What do you think, Lance? Where you at on this?
On the penalty kill, how many times, Guy, over the last, since you and I have been doing this show together off and on, and I've been doing my podcast since 2016. This team, we watch it game in and game out. Every other team challenges the guy with the puck when it comes to the Blues on a power play. The other team defensively will challenge the Blues and pressure them. And time and time again, you got to stay in your lanes, but the teams that are the best at penalty kill, they pressure that guy that's got the puck constantly. Sometimes you'll even see 2 guys on a guy with a puck, and the Blues just don't seem to be doing that. And I wish they would do that more. I think they've got the younger guys that have had the legs to do it, but I think they need to have a different philosophy as opposed to, you've got to stay in your lanes and your assignments when you're on the penalty kill and the power play. But, you've got to pressure. You've got to pressure those guys because you're already a player down, sometimes 2 players down. It's different when you're 3-on-5. Yeah, you can't put as much pressure, but you've got to pressure that guy with a puck. If you don't pressure a guy with a puck and he can stand there and pass the puck around and you just skate 5 feet in front of him and just watch him move that puck around, you're going to have a terrible penalty kill.
Yeah. The thing that I'm seeing, and that's what I thought one of you guys might bring it up. Prior to Bannister taking over as head coach last season, the Blues had the most shorthanded goals. When Bannister took over, power play got better, but the penalty kill went away from getting the shorthanded goals. The aggressiveness on the penalty kill went away. And I've seen that in the preseason on the penalty kill, they're not as aggressive, and that's where goals get scored when you're not aggressive. When you have that pressure, and Shockey says it, pressure equals mistakes and turnovers, and you have it's what I call a collapsing diamond. And for those of you who may or may not know what this is, when you're on the penalty kill, you have your 4 guys. You usually have one that's in front of the goalie. You have the 2 that are near the circles, the edge of the circles, and then one up at the top. And they form a diamond. A collapsing diamond is that diamond collapses towards the puck, right? It doesn't spread out. It collapses. It moves towards the puck. Now, that does leave a guy open, but it also takes away the passing lanes. And they collapse the diamond okay, but then they open it back up. They start collapsing it, and then as soon as it gets collapsed, they turn around and open it up. And when they open it up, what do they open up? A passing lane. And that's kind of my area of concern. Does that make sense what I'm saying, guys? Nick, Lance?
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say.
All right. You with me there, Nick? Oh, we got so we've got a special guest here. Come on over. Watch the cable. Okay. There you go. We got Pat Zombo here, the Zombo Apocalypse. Yeah, I kind of got it wrapped up there, Pat.
Oh, and real quick, guys, I don't know if I mentioned earlier. If you want to find out where the highway is at, it's real simple. You just take 5570, 55 north up to Route 4. And their address is 7708 State Route 4 in Warden. It's pretty simple to find. Like guys said, they've revamped the menu a little bit. They've got new stuff coming up, and if you can get over there and have some of that food, I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. You're muted, guy.
Is he talking to someone?
I don't know.
Sorry. I'm doing all that talking and I'm muted. I screwed.
I know. I said, "Guy, you're muted," and you just kept talking and talking and talking. Pat
brought up something really, really important. He brought up the word discipline. And last season, the Blues were very, very disciplined. But this season, or this preseason, they were probably one of the least disciplined teams that I saw out there. And I didn't get to see the Milwaukee game. Nick, you did. And you said you thought the Blues were playing dirty the entire game.
Yeah, well, again, most of those players were from the AHL.
Muted? No, I'm not muted.
No,
Nick,
the audio.
you can't hear me?
No, we hear you.
I can't hear Wendy.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
He's not talking.
Can you not hear
Hey,
me?
Nick, you there? Lance, can you hear me?
Yeah, Nick's talking.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're
Something's
talking.
going
Yes.
on,
You can hear
Yeah,
me.
we
right?
can
you
hear
hear
you,
me?
but apparently you cannot hear us.
I'm not
Yes.
hearing you guys now for some reason.
I know. I don't know what's going on
Let me
because
see. I'm
neither
not
Nick
sure
or I
what
are
is
muted.
going on.
Well,
I'm not
real
muted.
quick,
They're not
I guess-
muted. I don't think I'm muted here.
Jason's saying they can hear us.
Huh. Now you're muted, guy.
Yeah.
He probably can't hear us, Nick. Well, I'll try to add a little bit. Oh, there it goes.
There we
Yep,
go.
we can hear you
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, something happened. You guys muted out on me, but it didn't show you muted. No, so I don't know if you heard what Pat was talking about, but he brought up a really important word. He brought up the word discipline.
Mhm.
And he talked about, if you're disciplined 5-on-5, I'm not worried about killing kill. Last season, the Blues were very disciplined. This preseason, very undisciplined. Nick, you saw the game in Milwaukee, correct?
Yes, I watched the game in Milwaukee.
And you told me that you felt the Blues were playing dirty. Now, I know you're skewed Blackhawks fan, but I appreciate your opinion. So I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, I also was mentioning before the technical difficulties there that, yeah, I get St. Louis was playing dirty, but I think it was a pure factor that St. Louis pretty much had their Springfield roster out on the ice. So they were trying to make a last minute appearance to the front office to try and make the roster. Like in Chicago, they were playing a good amount of Rockford Ice Hogs on the team. And it was just seeming like when like players like Connor Bedard or Philip Kershaw were on the ice that night, who were the two NHL stars on the Hawks and seemed like in that game, that's when you saw the AHL players on the ice from St. Louis go after them and target them. And it led to a brawl at the end of the game. Bedard got tossed, and I believe Bolduc got tossed at the end of the game, because a lot of those AHL players from both sides were playing more on the edge. But it seemed like St. Louis had zero discipline on the ice. The Ice Hogs that were on the ice were keeping more of a cool pasture, and they ended up beating St. Louis 6-1 in that game.
6-2.
Oh, yeah, well, 6-2.
Brinovich got one late.
6-2.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go to my number 3. And Pat
one thing I want to say real quick.
Go ahead, Len.
One thing I want to say real quick is I think Nick needs to tell Luke Richardson to tell Bedard not to try to fight, because all that's going to end up getting him is going to end up getting him hurt. And I don't think Chicago wants to see him do that. I was shocked when he stood up for himself.
I respect what Bedard did, but even Richardson.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. But if I was his coach, I'd say I don't want you doing that.
Richardson after the game even said at the media that he does not want to see Bedard doing that again. He's already spoke with him. The player that he was kind of actually really happy for seeing getting into it was Kevin Korchinski, who was recently sent down to Rockford 2 days before that game, and was on the NHL all of last season. Couldn't go to the AHL because of the stupid CHL rule where you're under the age of 20, can't go to the AHL, even though it's better development for a player like that.
Yeah.
He was kind of proud of seeing Korchinski get into it as well.
He also had some good hits that game too.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go to my number 3 area, and my number 3 is the power play. And we've already talked about it a little bit, but my level of concern on that power play is a solid 8. Right? It doesn't seem like it's clicking, and I'm not sure. They get down there and they set it up, but they never open a lane. They move the puck around on the outside, which is fine. But in the movement on the outside, you have to get the defense to open a lane. And if you're not getting the defense to open a lane, it does you absolute zero good to continue passing it. Right? You've got to get the defense to open a lane. And that's not what I'm seeing. So I understand why Pat has the power play at number 1, but it's just not for me. And originally I had power play and penalty kill flip-flopped. Right? I did have them flip-flop, but after this, as undisciplined as I saw them during the preseason, it's got me concerned, right? It's got me concerned.
Look, I think one of the reasons that is we've got like 7 new players, 6 or 7. We've got Dylan Holloway, we've got Broberg, we've got Texier, we've got the two Josephs, we've got Faxa, and we've got Ryan Sutter. That's a lot of new faces getting used to the system and getting used to the players around him. And I think with that many new faces, it may take this team a while to gel. And I think you're going to see a lot of issues at the beginning of the season because these guys haven't played together.
Yeah. Hopefully that see, that's the thing. I don't think they have the time to gel. Right?
No, I don't think they do either.
Right? You've got well, not really, because in the preseason, Pat saying, I know you can't hear him, but he's saying they had 7 games to gel. It's so mixed up that you really don't have that. The thing is, I look at the season, and I know Lance, I'm not sure about Wendy, but I know Lance, you look at like 20%. You go about 16 games. You look at about 16 games. In 16 games.
Every 15 to 16 games, I judge the team. Yep.
All right. I look at the 10% marks, right? Like I look at the Blues first
every 8 games.
8 games, and that's 16 points. To me, the Blues have to have, in order for them to maintain something and to have a chance to build something, they need 10 points at that 8-game mark. After 8 games, they need 10 points. Right? I think anything less than 10. Go ahead.
I honestly think they're going to have to get 12. I think they're going to have to get about 12 points if they want to make the playoffs.
If 10 games in, 12 points is I think we're talking about the gelling. As you move into that 20 and 30%, then I think you can up that section to 12 points. But right now, I think for that first 8 games, you need 10 points. You've got to be above 500. You've got to be above 500, and they need to be. You got to have the regulation wins. You know, that's something in the preseason the Blues didn't get. They didn't get a regulation win, and they pissed one away. They absolutely pissed a regulation win away against Dallas. They should have won that game in regulation. They missed an empty netter with like less than a minute to go. Its puck slid right by because the defenseman threw it from down below instead of skating it out and trying to open something up and get a real empty netter. It almost cost. I mean, it ends up tying. Dallas ends up tying the game, and luckily they, Kyrou gets his. I think it was his first goal of the preseason, but he gets that goal in overtime from Thomas. Still, you shouldn't have been there. It shouldn't have been there, and that's my point on that. Wendy, you with me? Agree, disagree?
I can see where you're coming from.
This team isn't going to string together 5 out of 7. Maybe if they lose 5 and 6, if they lose 5 to 6 in a row, they don't have the capability to bounce back. I'm kind of with you, bud. I'm kind of absolutely with you. Sean says 37 seconds left in the game. Dallas tied it. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Now, my fourth area of concern. Oh, you guys still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. My fourth area of concern, and again, you got to apologize.
I keep dropping off and on, and I don't know why.
Okay. Might be an internet thing, but you're okay with if you drop out, we'll just bring yourself back in. Okay. My fourth area of concern is the defense. And when I say they're my fourth area of concern, it seems like I'm not very concerned about the defense, but that's 2 things here. First of all, when I think of defense, I actually think of our defensemen and not our defensive play. Okay? If I think of defensive play, I'm going to say that my level of concern is an 8.5 or an 8. But when our defensemen all together, my level of concern is about a 6. I think that defensively, the guys that we have playing defense are going to work. I really do. I like Kessel. I like Parayko. I think Parayko's back is finally healed, and he showed it last year. And I think it's going to get even better that he's going to have a full healthy season now. I like Falk. I like Letty. I'm not 100% sold on Suter. I understand why he's there. I like Joseph. I like both the Joseph brothers, and I like who's the other? Who am I missing here? Who? Oh, Prunovich. Now, Prunovich, this is a make or break. And usually when guys are on make or breaks, they make. And I think Prunovich will spend time between, I think it's going to rotate between the three. Joseph, Prunovich, and Suter. I think Kessel's probably going to solidify himself as a fourth defenseman. Are you guys with me on this or disagree? Tucker got sent down. Yeah, when they call him up, I can see Tucker. Whoever gets sent down, Tucker will go in that 3-man rotation, right? Lance, this is probably more of a you question than a Windy question.
Mm-hmm.
You still with me,
Suter's going to play most games. I don't see. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Suter's going to play every game, and unless he decides to sit or gets tired or something. And I don't think our defensemen are that bad. I agree with you, and I don't think our offense, when it comes to playing defense, being two-way players, I don't think they're that bad either. They're not as bad as people make them out to be. But I am concerned more about the offensive players playing defense than I am the defense. And I think most people are concerned about the defense, and I don't think they're seeing everything. And when it comes to the preseason, I don't judge anything by the preseason. Nothing. If the Blues got beat 10-2 in the preseason, I don't care, because the preseason there, you want to get your veterans back in shape. You want to get those young guys that have played a couple of years back in, getting back into the NHL. And you want to get those young guys who haven't played in the NHL some time to play and to judge them. I've seen it time and time again where a team will be terrible in the preseason and make the playoffs and be good in the regular season. So that doesn't really concern me at all. I do think, and I was talking to somebody, earlier today, that this team, a lot of people are saying they're going to finish one of the worst teams. I don't see it, but we'll get into that later in predictions on that. Yeah. But I'd say my concern, and I'll do it the way you did it, with the defense itself is a 5, and with the offensive side of defense, the offensive defenseman, I think 6.5. I don't give it a 6 and an 8. I'm not that concerned about it, and I know a lot of people are. I think this team will be fine. Are they going to be great? I don't think so this year, especially with all the young guys coming in. That's a big roster turnaround when you had 6-7 new guys. That's huge. I mean, you've got to look at Chicago when they started tearing everything apart and moving on from Kane and letting guys go, Duncan Keith and stuff like that. They had some guys come up from the AHL from Chicago that they just, it takes some time to integrate into the team. And I think this is
going to be the same way this year. It's going to be the same way this year for the Blackhawks. Since the Blackhawks this year have 9 new roster players from comparison to last year, because last year they were the second youngest team in the NHL. Now they're one of the oldest teams with all the free agent acquisitions they made this offseason.
Yep.
Yeah. Taylor Hall needs to have a good season for them. He really does.
He could be a good trade bait if he has a good season this year, because he's just 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get to my last area of concern. And when I say it's last, I mean it is absolute. There is no way that this area would ever be anything other than 5 for me. And I know Nick does not agree with me on this. But for me, our goaltending is like, my level of concern with our goaltending is a 3. Right? That's how low it is. I have no issue with our goaltending whatsoever. We had the only 2 goaltenders in the top 10 in goals against average last season. Out of all those teams with all those great goaltenders, we're the only one that had 2 goalies in the top 10 in goals against. I think that Bennington and Hofer are going to play great together, and Hofer is not far away from being that. If he's not a 1B now, he's a 1C. He's that close to being a 1B. Does that make sense, Lance, Mr. Goaltender?
Yeah. I put him as a 1B. He doesn't have the experience that Bennington has, but I think for his age and the way he approaches the game, he's very sound fundamentally. You don't see him out of position a lot. Every now and again you will, and that's because he's a young guy. But from post to post, side to side, he's great. He makes adjustments quickly. His angles on most pucks is pretty dang good. I definitely think they're going to be better in Chicago. I like Peter Mrazek as a, he's really a 2. He's not a number 1 starter anymore. And I don't know if Nick will agree with me there. You could consider him maybe a 1B. But I think Mrazek is going to be, okay with them. And then you've got Soderblom. He's okay, but he's another veteran type of a guy. And I can't think of their goaltender in the AHL for Chicago, but I think you might see him at the end of the year. He's definitely going to be here next year. But with Hoffer and Bennington, I put a concern with Bennington at a 2, concern with Hoffer at a 4. I'm not concerned at all with them. Are they going to have their bad games like goalies always do? Yeah. But I think they're going to be very consistent. And I think you're going to see Bennington have probably a 2.6, 2.7 goals against, and Hoffer a little worse than that, 2.8, 2.87, something like that. I'm just not concerned with them because I think they're both fundamentally sound goalies.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know me and Nick have talked about this a little bit. When it comes to goaltending tandems in the Central Division, now this is tandems, not one goalie. This is your main guy and your backup. I have the Blues at second, right? I think Saros and Wedgwood in Nashville right now, that's the best tandem. I think you've got, that's a 1A, 1B in my mind. Wedgwood got called on to be the guy in Dallas and came through, right? Dallas letting him go was a freaking mistake. They should have paid him. But
couldn't afford him.
Well, they should have found a way. They should have found a way because I think it's going to hurt them in the long run. I think that they took a step back. You look at the other great goalies in our division. You have Hellebuyck and Ottinger, and they're great goalies, but they don't have any backups, right? They're going to get counted on more and more. And when it comes, when it comes the time, they're not going to have the energy. They're not going to be able to, you see it happen with Hellebuyck all the time. He plays 65, 70 games. Come playoffs, he's gone. He's done. Right? I'm not even sure who the other goalies who Minnesota has
Fleury and Gustafson.
Yeah, and I think Fleury's like at the end of his. I mean, he doesn't have that much left, does he?
This is the last year in the NHL. He's already come out and said this is his last year.
Yeah, so that they've got a good team in front of him, but that he can't play 60 games. If he's playing 60 games, they're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. It's got to be on the backup. I'm not even sure. I don't know who Utah's goalie is.
Ingram and why am I blanking on their backup? Because Vejmelka. They have a good tandem in Utah. They had a great tandem they played well together in net last year. I'm not worried with Utah at all.
Okay. Am I missing somebody? Winnipeg. Well, we talked about Mrazek and Soderblom.
Soderblom's our fourth string.
Well, who's your backup?
Our backup is Laurent Brossoit.
Yeah, that's the guy that backed up in Edmonton last year, right?
No, he backed up Hellebuyck last year in
Winnipeg. Okay. I know you were high on him, and I looked at his numbers, and I see where you're coming from a bit. I just don't think that the team that he has in front of him is anywhere near as good as the team that was in front of him in Winnipeg, and that he's going to suffer from it.
The thing is with Brossoit, he's a massive upgrade over Arvid Soderblom, who was the second worst statistically ranked goalie in the NHL last year, only winning 5 games all season last year, where he played almost half of the games in this net for the Blackhawks. He was a disgrace in net. Yeah. And now he's going to be the backup in Rockford. Once Brossoit is back from injury, Soderblom's going to be probably I think he's wavered as Zelm, so he's going to be sent down to Rockford once Verswall is back, and he'll be backing up Drew Comesso down in Rockford.
Look,
Yeah, and I want to talk about Dallas real quick.
Yeah.
You know, like Guy and I said, I think the Blues have a 1A, 1B. I think Dallas has a 1 and then a 2, because Casey DeSmith, I think he's an okay backup. But in my mind, if let's say the Blues were playing Dallas, Ottinger got hurt and Bennington got hurt, I not a lot of people are going to agree with me because DeSmith is a veteran, but I think when it comes to the backup goalie, Hoffer is better than Casey DeSmith at this point. So I agree with Guy when I think the Blues have the best. When I have the Blues have the number 2, goalie tandem. Not to take it, yeah.
In the Central Division, right? Yep, and I think league wide, and I couldn't name all of them, but I think league wide we're going to be in the top 5. I think league wide.
Most places I've seen and talked to people, they have Hoffer and Bennington between 9th and 11th in the league.
Yeah, but is that individually or is that as a tandem?
That's a tandem. 9th to 11th.
I think that's too low. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think that's too low. Look, this is an important season for the Blues in a couple of different aspects. And you mentioned coaching, and I'm glad you did, because that's an important thing. Drew Bannister got a 2-year deal from the Blues, and some people were like, there wasn't a complete jump on board. Okay. Then something else happened that made all tons of sense with Bannister getting the 2 years. And I'm going to throw this out and ask, what happened that makes sense now that Bannister got the 2 years?
Because Steen becomes the GM in 2 years.
Bingo! You're the first one to get that. They announced that Steen would be the GM in 2 years. He's on a 2-year learning curve. If you'd have brought any other coach in, and I know there were other coaches out there that people thought about bringing in. If you'd have brought any other coach in, he was not coming in under a 2-year deal. He would have wanted 3 to 5 years. And I think that Armstrong wanted to give Steen a chance to come in with a fresh coach with his coach. And I think that's what Bannister does.
Yep. Yeah, and I will tell you this, and you can believe me if you want to. Some people do, some people don't. The Blues had some serious talks with Todd McClellan before they decided to keep Bannister. And there was another coach, and I can't remember which one it was, but you're right. One of them wanted a 4-year contract, and the other one wanted a 3-year contract. Right. McClellan wanted a 4-year contract, and he was pretty close to becoming the Blues' next head coach. But after they brought in Steen and everything, like you said, here's one thing, and Guy, you may believe me, and you may not. But in one of the press conferences, Doug Armstrong said, when Steen becomes GM, he will handle a lot of the GM responsibilities, but the final say with roster, final say with trades, final say with free agents, it is going to be Armstrong having the final say in that. Alex Steen will not have the final say in trades. Doug Armstrong even said that.
I think that's till he becomes a GM. I think once he becomes...
Nope. Okay. I know people inside the organization. Steen will do the press conferences as GM. He will have a say-so and free agents, but the final decision is still going to be Mr. Doug Armstrong.
No, that to me, if that is true, and I'm not discounting you, I'm just not. Don't take it the wrong way.
And like I said, believe me or not, it's okay.
I think that's a recipe for disaster, to be honest. I really think that's a recipe for disaster. Toronto,
it's basically Toronto mentality.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, let's talk about some other teams in the league real quick, right? First, let's talk about Edmonton with the Boberg-Holloway situation. I do not have an issue with Doug Armstrong going out and doing the offer sheets on Holloway and Boberg. None at all. I'm perfectly fine with it. And I've heard all this stuff. Oh, now somebody's going to offer sheet Neighbors, or they're going to offer sheet so-and-so or this. You know what? Someone go out there and put an offer sheet on Neighbors and give me a first round or 2 first round or 3 first round draft picks, because that's what the offer sheet is going to take. Right? it's not going to be this like the $4 million in the second round. You're going to be talking first round, 2 first rounds, 3 first rounds, and up for Neighbors. And I don't see anybody. I do not see anybody out there that's willing to give up 3 first round picks or 2 first round picks to offer sheet Neighbors. Now,
Neighbors ain't going to make that much. It's all based on their contract and what their contract is worth.
No. Remember that, but see, it's based on your performance of what your next contract will be. If he goes out this year and puts up 40 goals and 70 points, or because he didn't do really good in assists last year, but if he puts up 40 goals and 70 points or 80 points, he's going to get that money at 23. He's going to get that money at 23. Boberg got $4 million and was a second, and Holloway got $2 million and was a third. So we gave up our second and our third last year for those.
Mm-hmm. A guy his annual value is based on his compensation. If you think they're going to get a 3 first round picks, that means he's got to make more than 11. He's got to be offered more than 11 million a year.
Actually, I think it's $8 million for the 3 first rounds.
Nope.
I didn't look at it. I don't remember.
Here's what it is: if your AAV is 6.87 to 9.1 something, you get 1 first round pick, 2 second round picks, and 1 third round pick. It has to be between 9 million something and 11 million something. You get 2 first round picks, 1 second round pick, and 1 third round pick. The only way they will get 4 first round picks or 3 first round picks, they don't get that.
It's a max contract.
Okay.
The max 11.45 AAV, they get 4 first rounders. But other than that, I could see him getting 6, which they would get 1 first round pick and 1 third.
This is a good question. Coming in late, is this another building season for the Blues? I'd say yeah, in some ways. I mean, if you're not a Stanley Cup contender, then you should be in some way building. And the Blues are not a Stanley Cup contender. They're a playoff team, I think. So in that, I know, Nick. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But
that's why I kind of did the.
I know. I seen it. Trust me, I seen it there. But I do think that, yes, they are somewhat in a building season. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Toronto. He brought in Claude Julien, and my issue with Claude Julien, and I cannot say who I talked to about this, but I did talk to a former NHL Blues player, and he asked me what I thought about them bringing Julien in, and I said, it's going to be good if the voice is the right voice. And what I mean by that is, it's like when Hitchcock and Yo was here, with Yo being the coach in waiting. It got to a point in the season where the team, you could tell the team didn't know which voice to listen to. If Claude Julien's voice is Bannister's voice, then this is a perfect match. But if Claude Julien's voice is Claude Julien's voice, and it goes against Bannister, which has a propensity to happen, it really, really scares me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think the difference is Claude's been a coach long enough, and he's been an assistant coach before that for a long time. I mean, he's been in this league a long time with one position or another. And I think when it comes to that, I think he'll know, if what he can and can't do. And I don't think he's the type of person everybody tells me. I mean, the fans still loved him up in Vancouver when they pushed him out. They loved him, and they were pissed at the players for pushing that guy out. I think he's a good coach. I think that he will be a player's coach, an assistant coach, and I think he'll know what to say and what not to say. I think from what I talked about some players from Minnesota when Mike Yo came here, they two of them told me, and two of them are pretty famous players. Let's just say one of them's on the Blues now. That got a big contract from Minnesota. That Mike Yo is the type of guy that he's just a different personality, and he probably went into the Blues, and since he was going to be the coach in waiting, he thought he could push some of his agenda on it, and that's when it clashed. And I just don't see Claude Julien doing it. But you're right, Guy. If that happens, it will cause issues.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what happened with you. So that's kind of where I am. As long as the voice is right. And what I mean by that is Claude Julien has been a head coach, and I get all of that. But what Bannister is selling is what Claude Julien needs to be selling. If Claude Julien is not selling the exact same thing that Bannister's selling, then we'll have an issue. Right? And actually, Wendy, you've seen this in Chicago a bunch, where you've had the coach or assistant coach or the coach in management not on the same level, right?
It was pretty much unofficially kind of coming out that Bowman and Quenneville never worked well together. They pretty much did not really like each other often. From what it sounded like, there was a report where in the 2017 draft, before the draft occurred, Bowman traded away both Panarin and Nicholas Jarmerson. It ticked off Joel Quenneville enough. He left the United Center and basically was like that. He had enough of it. He so coached the team for a year and 1/4 later until they fired Joel Quenneville and hired Mr. Yes Man and now assistant coach of the New Jersey Devils, Jeremy Colleton, who brought in a terrible system, and it just never worked out. When the Hawks then hired Luke Richardson, before that, their interim head coach was Derek King. Derek King's still an assistant coach to Luke Richardson in Chicago, and it seems like they work out pretty well together.
Well, Chris Jockey, I'm sorry, Lance, I want to bring this point up. Chris Jockey says, what if guides Bannister say, hey, that worked in the AHL, but might want to do this here? And you know what? That's fine, but if Bannister goes against him, then he's got to accept that, right? I mean, I get that voice, but what Claude can't do is keep pushing it if Bannister doesn't want to do it. That's kind of what I'm saying there. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. I think you've got a different working relationship here. I think Bannister and Armstrong get along pretty good. I think Bannister is given control of the team to get them ready for games and set the system and everything. And he knows where he stands. He knows that Armstrong's going to have those decisions. And I know for a fact pretty quickly after Quenneville got to Chicago and he started winning those cups, Quenneville's a guy that likes to be in charge. And Nick will agree with me. He doesn't like people telling him how to get his roster ready, what players are going to work here, what's going to do that. And Bowman is the same way. Stan Bowman, whether good or bad, and I'll just say he's not good.
Terrible GM.
Big time control freak. You cannot tell Stan Bowman he's wrong. And when you have a GM like that, that's not good.
Well, Bowman's up in in Edmonton now, right?
Yes, he is.
Yep, he is.
Bowman is known for inheriting good teams and then tearing them apart. That's what happens in Chicago. He inherited a great team, won the cups from 2010, 13, and 15 as GM, but he inherited the team from Dale Talon.
Yeah, he didn't build that team.
Core roster in Chicago.
Well, I gotta give Bowman credit because he got an extra draft pick and a prospect out of Armstrong that Armstrong didn't need to give up. Right? I mean, you got to give them, because if it is true that they had from the get-go never planned on matching the offers, but he was able to, tell Armstrong, hey, I won't match if you give me this and this. I think it was a 5th round pick or a 4th round pick or something like that, and a mid-level prospect. I won't match. Armstrong didn't call the bluff and gave it away. I give Bowman credit for that. He got 2 pieces, no matter, however you want to look at it, that for free, basically. Right? And that's right. Now, I still think, now I will tell you this, from what I've seen of Boberg and Holloway, I think they're both going to simulate very, very well. Boberg was the centerpiece. I think Boberg was the guy that they were going after. But they were putting Holloway, offer sheeting Holloway also, thinking that Edmonton might take one of them, but not both. So they ended up with one. They ended up with both. We're still doing well in salary. Here's the thing. A lot of people are looking at the salary and going, we have the money from Krug. Problem is, that's not true. We don't have Krug's money yet. You do not get that money until you hit the cap, and you can't use that money to go over the cap. Right? It's a weird way they do it, but the LTIR money that you have doesn't come into play unless you are at the cap. Does that make sense?
So you're saying St. Louis isn't technically putting Krug on LTIR?
No, they're putting him on LTIR, but you cannot, and the money comes off. It goes into the LTIR pot, but you can't. So let's say that we're $2 million under the cap, and we have the $6 million from 6.5 from Krug. You can't bring a player in for $8 million or $8.5 million. You have to be at the cap before you can spend that $6.5 million.
That's not what the Knights did when it comes to Stone being hurt.
Say again?
When Stone got hurt and wasn't brought back to the playoffs, they excuse me, they weren't over the cap. They got to count that before. They got to count that as soon as he was put on LTIR.
I'm going to double check this, but I'm pretty sure I read this from Rutherford. So I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure that's how I read it from either Rutherford or the Post-Dispatch guy Matt DeFranks. One of those two I read this from.
Remembering back to when Marian Hossa was put on LTIR, I remember they had to wait until after the first game of the regular season occurred, and then the money then goes right into the LTIR, and then you have the money to play with for the salary cap.
I think they changed it to where now you have to be at the cap for it to become available. That's what I got to double check. Say, it might. Pat's saying that it occurs incrementally over time. It may, but I got to double check. I know there's some rules on that.
Yeah, I do remember Hossa, and I do know Stone. They weren't over the cap with Stone. They were close to it, but they put him on reserve because they figured they could get the other player and then have him ready for the playoffs and do what they've been doing the last couple of years with these trades they do at their signings at the trade deadline. They may have changed it, Guy. I don't know, but that's last night.
This is a hell of a question. I think this is the best question I've ever seen somebody ask David Acey. This is a great question. From a fan's perspective, Cardinals Nation and strong. Watched it fade like we've never seen before. Fans bleed blue in St. Louis. Could it fade like Cardinal Nation if management does not put up a winning, exciting team? And the answer to that is abso-frickin-lutely.
Can I give them an example? David, let me give you an example. First year I had Blues season tickets was 2005. It was the first year they missed the playoffs. And I got cheap ones in for the first year because they were $7 a piece. I got 4 tickets each game and all home games, and I paid $28 a game. And that was from 2005 to about 2008. They averaged about 9 to 11,000 most games, 12 some, 13,000. So yes, if they don't put a competitive team on and start making the playoffs. I mean, we had guys come in that were supposed to be the big saviors of the Blues, guys like Oshie, guys like Berglund, guys like Perron. They were pushed back then by John Stevenson or not John Davidson, and that they were the future of the Blues. And we had 4 years there where the Blues just were not good. And they were trying, the team was trying. John Davidson was great with the media, was great with the players, was a good GM, and they were trying to bring that winner, but the Blues fans did not start coming back until they started making the playoffs on a regular basis.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this. So I don't have the Cardinal fan base. I gotta give them credit. Okay. This is a top level fan base. They are in Major League Baseball, one of the top 5, if not top 3 fan bases in the league. And after the trade deadline and the mistakes that were made, this fan base did a silent protest and said, we're not going to the games. Now, be in mind, season tickets already bought, got it, they get the money. But the fans told ownership, you need to pay attention to what's going on here because we may have season tickets this year, but we're not going to get them next year unless you fix these problems.
Yep. And you know what? The Blues cannot afford. Doug Armstrong cannot afford.
Go ahead.
Doug Armstrong cannot afford to do what the DeWitts did. What DeWitts told one of the reporters in St. Louis, if we don't have the fan base next year, we'll have to cut the roster and cut how much money we spend on the team. That's not the way. If the Blues start playing bad and people really start not coming, they cannot make that mistake because whether Bill DeWitt knows it or not, this city loves the Cardinals. But if they don't put at least a competitive team on the field that competes every year for the division or the World Series or the National League Championship, you're going to continue to see this in St. Louis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to happen. And I think it's, you heard about how fans protest and stuff like that, signs. I think the silent protest that Cardinals fans did was louder than anything Oakland did. And Oakland was very vocal about the team leaving and all that stuff. However, Oakland fans didn't show up until the last game. This whole season, there was almost nobody in the fan. I really think that the Cardinal Nation sent a very loud message that I hope it's heard. By the way, Shane here is a Navy vet, was on the USS Roberts when it was hit by a mine in 1988. Shane, Wendy, I have turned Shane onto your channel. I think he's following you now, just so you know.
Correct.
All right. Shaggy,
can you hear me, Nick?
This season I will mainly be doing Tuesday games. So if it's a Tuesday game, you can find me on. I'm being sponsored by Vitale's Hideaway here. Oops, we lost Lance for a second. He'll come back. You know what, Shag? I don't think we're going to be on too much longer, so maybe not tonight. But I do appreciate you, bud. Shockey says they sounded like a certain Blues ownership in the late aughts. Yeah, that was some bad ownership. I want to give Lance a moment or two. Here he goes. Okay, we got him back. Do we? Maybe, sort of, kind of. There we go. Okay, we got you back, Lance.
Yeah, it started dropping off, and I don't understand it because I'm showing on my speed test I'm getting 890 megs down and 890 megs up.
It could, unfortunately, StreamYard raised prices but lowered quality.
I saw that.
Yeah, neither here nor there. Let's go over what our predictions are, what we think the Blues are going to do this season. Wendy, I'm going to let you start because I already know what yours are. I'm going to let you start.
Well, let me pull it up here.
Yeah.
As-
I meant to do a screenshot, but I didn't do it. I couldn't. I just couldn't do it.
I'll just do that.
Yeah, you've got us in 8th place at 73 points. Bud, I'm sorry. I can't see that in any way, shape, or form. There's no way the Blues are going to be that bad. No way. Not with the goaltending tandem.
I just don't like that any other things with St. Louis. I do admit St. Louis has a top tier goaltending tandem, but their offense, they get stuck to the perimeter, which does not help. That could average you guys maybe 2.5 goals per game, which last year the Hawks were the worst offensive team in the league, putting up a total of 173 goals on this season. And they were stuck to the perimeter all season long. They could not get into the zone, into the slot to cause offensive chances. St. Louis, I see a lot of issues with their roster from offense. If they play Suter 90% of the season, that's going to be a recipe for disaster. Broberg, I think will help, but it won't help a lot. I just don't see St. Louis as much of a team in the West. I think they're going to be a bottom 4 team in this Western Conference this year.
Wendy, I understand it. I really do. I understand everything you're saying, but I think you're putting on Blackhawk colored glasses here.
I don't. Frankly don't, because I still have the Hawks just only 3 points ahead of you. No, 4 points ahead of you guys in the standings. That's just too. If the Hawks, I realistically think the Hawks end up having a 77-point season by all the counts that they brought in. By the fact this isn't a younger team in the NHL now, they have more experience that knows what to do when it comes to the longer parts of the season, the doom and gloom type part in the middle points of the year. This team isn't built like last year's team. And I think what happens is you can see a different energy from the Blackhawks versus St. Louis. St. Louis, yeah, they may have acquired a lot of players, but they aren't game-changing players for that team.
So last season, the Blues had 93 points. You have them losing 20 points. So losing 10 more games than what they won last season. They were above 500. I think they were like 8 or 9 games above 500 last season, right? I don't remember. At 93 points, that's like a 530 win percentage or points percentage, right?
Yeah, I have the Blues realistically sitting 8th in the Central Division.
So my question to you, so I see that you, where did the Blues lose the 20 point with the guys that they brought in? Do you think that the guys that they lost were worth the 20 points? And that's the question that I'm struggling with your thing. I don't see where we've lost the 20 points.
Here's my thing. What I'm seeing is something very similar to when the Hawks started their decline in the division. They may have brought in players. They lost some players, but it just seems like they have that point. They're at that point where they're going to plummet in the division. I just don't see where their team is. It just seems like how the Hawks started when they plummeted in the division, because they went from
I'm sorry, Wendy. I mean, even taking my Blues colored glasses off, I don't see this team going from 5th to 8th. I don't. And then they sit there and say that they got that bad, but the teams below them got that much better.
Which is true. The Hawks, Here's who I got really much better. Minnesota's sitting at their same spot as last year. They really didn't do much of acquiring. They didn't do much of losing players. They have pretty much their same roster, but if they get injured, I could see Minnesota ending up in last place in the division. This is how close I see the division at the bottom end. I have St. Louis at 73 points. The Hawks at 77 points. Minnesota is at the 87 points, which was the same amount of points as they were last year, but they ended up there's remaining in 6th place. Utah, I see, made a massive climb this year with what they were able to do. They're now in a situation where they aren't going to be stuck in a college arena. They are in a position where the owner actually isn't a incompetent dimwit of a owner who doesn't care about anything and didn't know how to put a team on the ice for a market to succeed. Utah at least now has a owner who's willing to pay to bring in players to help, and I think they did that by bringing in Sergachev at the draft. They made their team much more complete, and I can see them being a playoff type caliber roster, even though I think they miss by a few points.
I understand, Wendy. I really do. I just don't completely see it. I think Utah is going to get a boost from the new move, and then they're going to fall right back into the same team they were before, right? Chicago is, how many points did Chicago have last season?
52. I have 52. Them having a 25-point increase.
Oh man,
which is really, that is an actual thing they can happen because teams who have. Go ahead, Lance.
We're going to talk about the whole Central Division or just the Blues, because I can. If you want to talk, I
mean, we're talking. I understand the Blackhawks are going to increase 25 points and the Blues are going to lose 20 points.
No. Here's what I have. I have the Blues coming in at 4th or 5th. They're going to just miss the playoffs. They're going to be a team that's up and down this year. They're going to look like they can beat anybody, because they've got a young team, and some nights that young enthusiasm is going to help. I have them 4th or 5th. The reason is, like you said, Utah may start off good. They're going to fade. I have zero confidence in Minnesota. They didn't bring anybody in. And Fleury's a year older. And, I keep hearing people say, oh, he's going to have another season like he had with Pittsburgh. And, because he's going out, it should be his final year. I'm sorry. I haven't seen the Andre Fleury that played for Pittsburgh in a good 4 or 5 years. I just haven't seen that. And I think the Blues are going to fight with Winnipeg for the 4th or 5th in the Central. I think it's going to be after that. It's going to be Utah at 6, Minnesota at 7th, and Chicago again at 8. And then I have Dallas, Colorado. I have Dallas, Colorado, and Nashville, the top 3. Nashville's one of those teams that I think that really good and really give Dallas and Colorado a run. Or I think, bringing in a guy like Stamkos, is he still good? Yeah. But, guys all of a sudden at that age can just start falling apart, and he's not the player he used to be. So Nashville's going to be one of those teams that could be really good or really bad. But I think after that, you're going to have St. Louis and Winnipeg fighting for that 4th and 5th position. And the rest of the Utah, Minnesota, and Chicago are going to be fighting for the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you there. I think Nashville is going to win the division. I think Colorado, you got to look, Colorado at one point could only put 18 guys on the ice. That's how cap screwed they were.
Yeah.
Right. So
guys, this team is a totally different team with Landeskog on it. With Landeskog back, Colorado is instantly a lot better than last year when he was injured. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, but he
Landeskog's
could
not
end up back on the
activated
injury
yet.
list just like that.
Oh,
You know,
he will be. He'll be activated.
right? No, but I'm saying he could end up injured again just like that. He's got one. He had a back injury, right?
Oh yeah.
He also missed 2 years of hockey. He hasn't played since the Stanley Cup final. He's not going to be the same Landeskog that we saw during their cup year.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I
don't think he is immediately either.
Yeah, I think that Colorado's going to struggle early. I really do. Dallas, I think Dallas got worse by letting go of Wedgwood. I think that's a huge thing there. Ottinger was hurt for like 15, 20 games, and Wedgwood came in and was a number one guy. He came in and helped them to win the division. And you're letting that guy walk? Now, whoever your backup is, he's not going to be as good. You're going to lose points because of Wedgwood. You are definitely going to lose points because of Wedgwood. Minnesota, I think that they're like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. You never know. And Marc-Andre Fleury's at the end. If you're counting on Marc-Andre Fleury and you're not bringing up another goalie, you might get a playoff run, but that's it. Then next season, you're a bottom feeder. And that doesn't do you any good. So you've got to pay attention to that. I do think the Blues made advancements. You look at who they lost and who they brought in. They lost Scandella and brought in Boberg. I think Boberg is a step above Scandella. Would you agree, Lance? Did I lose everybody?
Yeah, number one. No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
No, I don't. Yeah, I've never been a Wedgwood fan. I mean, last year he had I think 2.86, 2.85 goals against and a save percentage of 8.9.
Yeah.
But guys are giving him a little.
We're having some issues with you, Lance. You froze up on us there, bud.
The last 5. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we got
the last 5 or 6 games he played the last 5 or 6 games that Wedgwood played last year.
Yeah,
his goals against was only above 900 twice. In the other games, it was 824, 850, and 800. He had 2 games that were 964, 960 save percentage. But he to me, Wedgwood is an average to just above average goaltender.
Oh, I don't know, man. He was my fantasy goaltender, and he won me a lot of weeks. I'll tell you that. He only won 16.
He only won 16 games. He only won 16 games last year.
But he didn't. How many did? Are you sure? I don't know. I thought he won more than that.
He played 32 or 30. He played 32 or 33 games and won 16, and his goals against was 285, and his save percentage is 899. His goals against his career is almost 3, and his save percentage is 905 or 96. He's an average to goalie. He's not a 1B.
Yeah, you're freezing on us, Lance. Yeah, you're going in and out on us, buddy.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you might want to restart yours, bud. You still with me, Wendy?
Yeah.
Right. I see the Blues being a 4th or 5th place team. I really do, and I see him challenging for a wild card spot. I don't. Like I said, Boberg is a step above. Scandella. Holloway definitely above, and I can't think who now. The guy we brought back from the Rangers. Oh, I can't think of his name now. I think the Blues did make an effort, and the guys that they got are better than the guys they lost. Right. Yeah. The only one The only one that I would say that they brought in that was not better than the guy he's replacing is Suter replacing Krug.
Did you finish? Did you finish hearing what I said? Was the last thing I said?
No, we didn't get to hear it, man. You were in and out.
Right. The last thing I said was when it comes to Wedgwood, he played 32 games last year, won 16, goals against a 2.85, save percentage of 899 in his career. At the age of 32, he's only played in 130 games. And he's won 48 out of the games he's played. His goals against is 2.98, and his save percentage is 9.05 or 9.06. I do agree with you. He's a good backup, but I think he's one of those guys that can give you a good game now and again. But to me, he's an average backup. What do you think?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough. I just think that he's going to, with what Nashville did. Nashville is all in on this season. They are either winning the cup this year or not. You know, they are cup or bust.
Yep.
Absolutely cup or bust.
Yep.
Right. Oh, Andrea, I actually did think about calling you and saying, hey, if I came up there, could I get one of your tickets? But I decided not to. But I did think about it. Wendy, I do understand what you're saying. I do. Okay. And I respect you. I need you to know that. But I do not see where the Blues lost 20 points and the Blackhawks gained 25. Now, I do see the Blackhawks gaining 25 a lot more than I see the Blues losing 20. I do see that. A 50-point season, I don't see the Blackhawks having it again. Could they have a 77-point season or 75? I think you had 75, right?
77.
77. Could they have a 77-point season? Yes, I think they could, but it have to be a lot of things going right, and Bedard would have to not get injured this season.
Yeah.
Right. And Bedard is going to be injury prone. I know you love him. He's a smaller guy. He's going to get hit hard. I know they brought in Pat Maroon to kind of give him some protection. I don't know how much protection Pat Maroon's going to give him. Right.
Maroon won't likely ever be on the ice at the same time as.
No, but if someone goes after Bedard, Maroon's going to come out and go after them.
Yeah,
I don't think it. I know Maroon has this reputation of being this guy that's rough and tough, similar to a Ryan Reeves. That's not Pat Maroon's game. Pat Maroon's game is to agitate people, get in their face, let them make the penalty. That's what Pat Maroon is there for. He is there for protection, just to let people know that, hey, don't take liberties with him. I'm sitting on the bench, and I'll make sure that you don't do that. But I don't think anybody's afraid of fighting Pat Maroon at this point in his career.
I think the player that was brought in to be more the protector of Bedard is Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And I think Bertuzzi is going to benefit this year of getting a lot of points from being Bedard's winger.
Yep.
Teravainen also being a Bedard winger potentially. It looks like tomorrow, though, for the opening season, the first line will be Ilya Mikheyev, Bedard, and Teravainen, with Bertuzzi on the second line with Khrushchev and Hall. So, I'm just waiting to see how things happen, because right now the Hawks are going to set up their lines to figure stuff out, because during the preseason, they could not figure out lines to combo properly to get some chemistry together. I'm going to give them the first 10 games to really find their pairings to get a team actually gelling together.
Yeah, because I agree with you. I've always thought that when they signed Bertuzzi, he'd be a second line guy, but a guy that could come up and play with Bedard if he had to.
So, Wendy, do you see this comment on the screen?
What's that?
It says, Wendy, I will wager that banner in the center at the Blackhawks that don't get the points you're saying you on. I already know the answer.
Yeah, I'm not giving up my banners.
Yeah, I knew the answer to that one.
I don't give up any of my special the merchandise.
You know what, David? He might want to come up with another bet, but I know it'd be pretty tough. I could see the Blackhawks gaining 25 points a lot more than I could see the Blues losing 20. Does that make sense?
I could see where you're coming from.
Right?
I just think the bottom 3 teams are going to be very close, and I think St. Louis is going to be in that bottom 3 tier with the Hawks and Minnesota competing for that bottom 3.
I'm just not there with you. I think Utah. I really think Utah is going to have a huge falling off. I really do. Did Saad make the trip? No, Saad did not make the trip.
He's injured.
My light just went out on me. Give me a moment, guys. I gotta change batteries, and I'll be right back. We're gonna end the show here shortly, but I want to change this battery real quick.
Was
Stand by,
Saad
guys.
injured
You
or
guys
something?
can talk while I'm taking care of
Yeah,
this.
he's hurt. Saad's hurt. Yep.
No, Saad is not. He's having baby.
Oh,
Well, I thought they said he was hurt at the beginning of the preseason.
Nope. That's the.
I'm thinking of somebody else.
Of Sunquist.
Yep, that's what it is.
Still hurt. Yeah, no.
Yep,
I'll be right
Yep.
back. Let me change the battery on this, and I'll be right back.
That's fine. So, are you shocked, Nick? That I mean, I knew the.
Okay. All right. Lance and Guy both left. So, all right. Yeah, I had no clue Saad was expecting a baby because I haven't paid attention to Brandon Saad since he left the Blackhawks, really. Yeah, I know. That will be right back. Was I expecting to be on by myself for a few moments, but can manage. We'll see how that goes. Well, the lights are out on Guy's side. I know he's getting those fixed. And Lance has had some technical difficulties this entire stream. I expect him to be back in any minute. Oh. Looks like Guy is posting in the chat saying sorry. I don't know what that's. Hopefully he's okay and the stream's about to get back in rolling. Hope some spirited games. Yeah, I'm hoping for that too. It's going to be interesting. Winter Classic and all will be one of them, and it's the only time St. Louis is in Chicago. St. Louis never traveled to the play in the United Center this year because their preseason tilt. They were in Milwaukee, and their only game in Chicago will be at Wrigley Field this year.
That's an interesting. So we only play you guys 3 times then?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Sorry about that.
4 times, but 3 in St. Louis.
Yeah, the battery on my light went out. Oh, excuse me. Hold on. I'm excited for the season. I really am. As far as the show goes, Tuesdays mainly. I may do some Saturday weekend games if things are going, but I really need to focus on doing my lift, earning some money so I can come back next year to do this again, or maybe come back again. I look forward to the Winter Classic, and I look forward to seeing what everybody's predictions come out. I really do. I want to thank Lance and Wendy for joining me tonight. I know, Wendy, you tried to make it up here for the Wednesday thing, and that was a debacle. Thank you for supporting me for that. I really do appreciate you. Lance, I know you tried to help on that too.
Yep.
I greatly appreciate it. Got some comments I'm going to do real quick.
Real quick.
No,
Nick,
go ahead.
Are you going to the Winter Classic?
Yes.
I think my son's getting tickets for him and I, so we may be up there. I'll hit you up.
Yeah, I was able to get early access to Winter Classic tickets for being a half season ticket holder for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, we're gonna have to buy them on StubHub, which isn't going to be cheap. So
yeah,
we only
I know what they're going for now.
Yep. We had some. We looked at some at the very top level at Wrigley.
Mm-hmm.
And at first they were 185, and I think now they're 325.
Wow. God, I
And
wish I
that's in
could
the
come to
upper
the day
deck.
after my
Yep.
birthday.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the last time I checked. People put tickets for sale, and and that some
Yeah.
people may sell them cheaper. But yeah, that's what the cheapest was, about 185 is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
175.
When I
Wait
got
to see
mine,
how the season goes, and then those tickets could
Yeah.
drop.
They could.
Right?
Yeah. It's just going to be interesting because that Winter Classic being in Wrigley Field, there's going to be some spot. It's going to be a different feeling than the 2017 one between the Hawks and Blues, because both teams are rebuilding teams this time around.
Mhm.
And Wrigley Field is a lot more different than Busch Stadium when it comes to seatings.
Yes, it is.
It's a little more intimate. It's a little more packed together.
That's a nice way to put it.
You know where if I was to go, if I was going and I knew I could get there, you know where I'd want to sit?
Where's
bleachers?
Huh?
In the bleachers?
That's where I'd like to sit.
No, you know where I'd like to sit? The buildings across the street.
On the rooftops?
On a rooftop.
I know someone who sat in the rooftops in 2009. They said they barely could see the ice because what happened was they put in 2009 they put temporary screens up in the bleachers and it blocked the view. But in the now that there's actual screens up, but there's actual roof, you can still see through the rooftops.
Yeah.
It might be different, but you're also super far away from the ice at that point. You're across the street from the stadium.
Yeah. I know for a baseball game that they're pretty good seats. I just think that the experience too, and you're right. I mean, you could be the one thing that you're not going to have at the rooftops is a TV with the game on that you can kind of see. They may not have that.
I know they're now most of the rooftops are owned by the Cubs at this point, but I don't know how they are. I've never sat up in the rooftops.
Oh, the Cubs own the rooftops now?
What?
Do the Cubs own the rooftops?
They basically bought out all the rooftops, but a few of the buildings in Wrigleyville.
Okay.
Holy heck, Nick! I checked 2 weeks ago, and the seats up in like 403 and 404. They were like 185. Cheapest now on Ticketmaster is 285.
I'm sitting right now left field on the corner.
Like 102 or 103?
204? 08-ish, I think.
Okay.
I'm kind of closer to the foul pole line.
Yeah, you're probably right between the foul pole line and third base.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's where I'm sitting. I'm not quite sure. I just know I'm on left field side.
Oh, cool.
Well, guys, I thank you for. Don't go away. I want to bring the owner back on and have him, get you guys, get to say something to him and bring him on and tell him, see what he thinks of the show. Nick, can I bring you up here, bud? Bring you back up. Thank you, sir. Watch the cable there, please. Oh, yeah, because I've got a little jump rope type cable hanging there. Get you on there, and let me make sure I turn your mic back on. There we go. Your mic's on. Can you hear okay there, Nick?
Yeah.
Well, hey, guys, this is Nick, the owner of Vitale's Hideaway. At the bottom there is Windy City Hockey. You met him the other day. And
met
then
Windy last
up
week.
at the Tance is Lance the Scott.
Hello, Nick.
Unfortunately, Lance couldn't make it up here. He's dealing with some health issues, but we've got him. First of all, with them here, I wanted to say thank you to you for this, allowing us to do this tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Anytime, guys.
And I want to know what you thought of the show.
Excellent. Awesome show.
Great.
Very insightful. And it's going to be an exciting season. And looking forward to Bleeding Blue.
Yep. The Vitale's Hideaway will be Bleeding Blue with you. We've talked about using that slogan. He likes it. We're going to be doing that. So he's going to use my slogan, the Bleeding Blue with you. Every Tuesday now will be the BlueNote Fan Report game day reaction show presented by Vitale's Hideaway. And then my TikToks, I will try and do them every game day. Not always easy. You understand, the difficulties, but I will try and do them, minute and a half on TikTok and from Vitale's Hideaway. But we had a great time. And Lance or Wendy, you want to say anything to Nick here real quick?
Yeah. I want to ask.
Go ahead, Lance.
I've looked at your new menu and stuff. What would you say is something that people need to try? I know my wife was looking at the hummus on your menu. What is the one thing you think that Jake Tapper brought to you that's a menu item that maybe you didn't think of, but is really, you think is really going to be a signature Hideaway item?
So we have two menus. So we have our original menu, and then we have what we call our mobster menu, that Bar Rescue John Taffer.
Yep.
And we had one of the best chefs on the show, we were told, called Chef Brad Miller. And he created 5 new signature items for us. Gave us a lot of new recipes, new sauces. We're making mobster meatballs. We hand make our meatballs. Our marinara sauce is amazing recipe that they had given to us. The white sauce that goes on it and pesto. And we have pulled pork cannolis. We have chicken Parmesan sandwiches.
And hold on. I had that today.
Which one?
The chicken parm sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had a chicken parm in a long time. First time I had it like on a round bun.
Right.
But I got to tell you, it was good.
Yeah.
And I'm used to like hoagie style, right?
Yeah.
But they do it on a brioche bun, and it was good. I mean, good. I normally don't finish a whole thing. It took me a couple of trips because I was setting up, but I kept going back and eating it. That was a good sandwich.
Yeah, we try to cater to something for everybody, right? So all of our appetizers, whether it's lobster rangoon or pepper jack cheese curds, wings, our burgers are amazing. On the mobster menu, we have the Kappa burger from Chef Brad from Bar Rescue. Fabulous burger. That's one of my new addictions. And our other burgers are really good as well. And our steak salads, if somebody's wanting something on the lighter side, have several customers that are addicted to those because of our sweet basil dressing that we use. But wraps, Philly steak, Philly chickens, you name it. We try to do it all and cater to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing to a lot of people in St. Louis. You might be seeing this and saying, where the heck is Warden, Illinois? It's very simple to get to. You take 55 north, you take to Route 4, get on it, and you can't miss it. I believe it's 7708. Is your address there, Nick?
Correct. It's right off the highway.
Yep. Literally about 25 minutes north of St. Louis, and we're exit 33. The Staunton Lebanon exit right here in Warden. You get off the highway on 33 and heading north towards Litchfield or Chicago.
Yeah.
And you make a left and it's really right across the bridge.
Yeah, across the bridge.
Can't miss it.
Great.
Right?
Love to have you guys out.
Oh, we'll work something out. And, guys, if you come out here, tell them the Blue Note Fan Report sent you. They've got some Blue Note drink specials that they got. And maybe Nick gives a small discount for saying the Blue Note Fan Report sent you. I'll put him on the spot here.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. I'm going to try and do the game day show tomorrow. I can't make a promise that I'll be here with the other things, but I'm going to try, Nick. Pop up again. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Right. So we're going to try and do a pop up. And if we do, I'm going to eat some more food.
We're part of the Blues house, so our house is your house.
I appreciate it. Nick, I just want to say thank you. Wendy, you got anything to say before we go?
I just want to say your place is a really nice place. That when I came by last week to try and do the show there, sorry I wasn't able to make it up there this time around. It was nice to meet you, and you really do have a nice place there.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
That means a lot.
Shockey, they have a Blue Note Fan Report drink. It is blue. They have 3 drinks. They have the Brett Hull Hat Trick, the Blue Note Fan Report Special, and the Pledge Your Butter Smash, and they're all blue.
Can they make a blue Long Island iced tea?
We can make whatever you guys want.
We can. That's something we'll tell the bartenders.
We can make some signature items too. So if you guys want to put your stamp on an item, we'd love to make it and put it on.
Awesome.
Right. So Nick has done a great job. I can't, again, with all the issues that we had, Wendy, you were here with me, and how frustrated. I mean, I was frustrated, but Nick was as cooperating as could be and as understanding as could be. And I greatly, greatly appreciate you, Nick. So thank you so much for allowing me to come up here tonight.
Thank you guys. This was really fun.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed having you guys anytime.
Well, guys, we're at right about 2 hours or an hour and 45 minutes, and this was supposed to be an hour show. So I think we did a great job. If you can, I'm going to try. It'll be a last minute thing if I get up here, and I'll put it out. But I'm going to try and do a game day for the home opener or for the season opener tomorrow. Got a few other things I got to try and take care of. But if it works out, I will come up here, set everything up, and do a show. I might have to move where I'm sitting a little bit so I can see the TV a little better, but we'll try and do something. If you guys can hop on, it is an early game show. If I'm here for a show, it'll be at 3:00. I'll kind of know in the morning if I'm going to do it, and we'll kind of go from there. Lance, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you showing up today.
Thank you.
As always, you're a great co-host. Wendy, our friendship has been amazing, dude. Right? For the 5 years now since we both started doing this, the fact that, our friendship is as strong as it is. And the first time we ever met was last week when I had all those issues. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, dude. And I just want to say that. Thank you so much, Wendy.
No problem.
All right. Well, guys, it's been a great night. I've had a lot of fun. But, as they say, everything must end. Guys, have a great night. And you know what? Let's hear what the boys have to say tonight.
Hawaii Blues fan, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
You know what? I agree with them. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, for Lance, the goalie drop to Scott, and for my buddy, my pal, my enemy, only during hockey season, Windy City Hockey, saying aloha, mahalo, and you got to know that I'm bleeding blue with you. Stay on, guys.